evening, and welcome to Frank on Camnet. There is a saying that don't ask what a country should do for you. Ask what you should do for the country. This is the driving force behind my Zambia, my responsibility. Tonight, we look at these and related issues with CHISOMA LOMBE, chairperson and founder of the organization My Zambia, My Responsibility. Congratulations, CHISOMA, about this important, development.
Thank you.
And I hope you've been keeping safe.
Yes, very safe. We're trying.
You're trying.
Yes.
I'm glad, to hear that. I think the first question basically is to lay the foundation. The genesis, of this important organization. What is the genesis?
Yes. It's good to be here.
Yeah.
Uncle Frank.
Mm-hmm.
We've done a lot of this together.
Right.
Yes. And I'm glad to be on the other side together.
Right.
Yeah. So My Zambia, My Responsibilities was actually birthed in 2014.
Yeah.
Yes. So in 2014, we had a big fashion show where we featured former first ladies. Right. So they were anchor models. So I was asked by a group of people who are organizing the event that I do a fashion show and make them anchor models. And the reason I was actively involved and was excited about the project is because of what the cause was. And the cause was to raise money to buy sanitary pads in all the 10 provinces of Zambia. Yes.
Excellent.
Yes. So well, it wasn't active after that because for me it was just like a one-off.
Yeah.
Yes. Until I understood more about my journey. Yeah. That's when I birthed it, and it was launched in December last year.
Brilliant. Yeah. Before we even delve into the responsibilities of this important organization, let's take it to our own level as Zambians.
Yes.
What are our responsibilities as Zambians?
First of all, we need to understand what does it mean for you to be Zambian.
Yeah.
You need to understand what does it mean for you to be a citizen of Zambia. What are the benefits that are out there of being a Zambian? Yes. And until you understand that, you never know what your purpose is. You never place yourself where you're supposed to be. Yes. And a lot of people don't know that. So that's why you find a lot of people have a certain entitlement mentality where they think someone else is supposed to come from somewhere and save them. And how long can you wait for that? A lot of us have, I was there in the unit times. Right. Though I'm very young, Uncle Frank. Yeah. Yeah. So I was there then, I was there in the second regime, I'm there in the third regime. And to be honest, with all the education that I had, I was also waiting for a savior. Yeah. Yeah, waiting for a savior all this time. So now can you imagine the disappointment if you don't get what you want? Yeah. Yes, and people want different things. But then I started thinking to myself, wait a minute, I have a responsibility for myself. Right. I have a responsibility for my whole generation. Imagine someone asked me, so why didn't you achieve what you were supposed to achieve? And you say, no, it's because of Uncle Frank. Hello? So it is from that background that we decided, no, wait a minute, let's create a platform. And a platform where, and the reasoning behind the platform is like, I think the past few months or years, there have been a lot of groupings that have been becoming stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger. So there has never been a platform where that removes people from these little boxes, political box, tribal box, religious box, to say at this platform, I can hold your hand and have shared values with you. And the shared value entails that we put Zambia first.
In your interactions, what are you finding out there? Do we actually understand why we are Zambians and what is the purpose? I say this in the context of you're very educated. You hold up SCCA, you're an accountant, you're an entrepreneur. You could have easily been away from this country.
Yes.
There's so many people who could be here, but they're out of the country. Is it a question of really understanding why I'm a Zambian, that God planted me here to be a Zambian?
And I can talk about myself, because all of us have a different purpose. I mean, even those that have traveled, I've always believed that everybody has a purpose, and whatever you go through in life has a purpose. And I'll give you an example of my whole story. My story is that I'm an accountant. So I was working until I found out that, wait a minute, I work and I'm rising in the ranks, head of finance, but I'm not passionate about what I do. Because I started noticing people who are passion driven. I mean, you can find someone who's passionate about ants. And I'm thinking, wait a minute, what am I passionate about? What is it that keeps me awake? There's nothing that keeps me awake. So I went on a spiritual journey, and to just discover myself, because I'm not going to stay and wait for pension until I retire. So when I went on this spiritual journey to discover who I was and why I was created and what impact I'm created for, it's when I discovered my passion was fashion. You can imagine, and this is not too long ago, in my probably late 30s, that's when I discovered my passion. So when I discovered my passion in fashion, I went through, you see, what passion does is it forces you to stick to this cause that you've discovered. And no matter how many trials you go through, you can't come out because the passion overpowers. It overpowers you to the point where I discovered later on that your passion is meant to make you strong. Because no matter how many trials and tribulations you go through within the passion, you never come out because you're overpowered. Okay? So I'm there and I'm enjoying life and I'm traveling all over the world, representing Zambia here and there, and I would have loved to end there. Because as far as I'm concerned, I found my passion, and this is what I'm supposed to do. Okay? So then another light bulb came. And the light bulb was when I discovered that your passion is the fuel to your destiny.
Brilliant.
Yes. So your passion is not an end in itself, but a means to an end. So what is the end? The end is when you start impacting people. Is when you start touching lives. Yes. So then this drive to change Zambian people came back. Because now I have a platform. Because you can imagine, Uncle Frank, I was head of finance. Okay, FCCA. You know, and I'm at that place where I'm like, okay, I could do this. I'd remain here. And then I am driven to become a fashion designer, and I'm not trained to do it. Okay? But when I make that decision to become a fashion designer, organizations like, banks, all these big organizations would call me to speak to the members of staff. Imagine a seemingly silly decision, but that's what purpose is all about. I became relevant. And what your passion does, it only creates a platform for you to speak. Then I had a voice. So with that voice, I am now driving this agenda of my Zambia, my responsibility.
I'll be coming to your role, your position as a designer, very shortly. But as a writer, to what you've said, the foundation is purpose. You've talked about, passion. You need to have purpose before you discover, you develop, passion. How do you discover purpose? How do you know now that, wow, this is my purpose?
So what I'd like, I always tell people, is that purpose is always connected to people. It's always connected with what you can do for people. It's always connected to what risks can you take to better people. When I was in my passion, for instance, it was all about me. It was just about me and my satisfaction. And that's why I would have loved to just end there and travel the world and showcase all over the world. I've done Paris, I've done Malaysia, I've done Rome, I love that. I would have loved to end there. But you see, I had not yet entered my purpose until I started serving people. So passion just creates a platform.
Brilliant. Yeah, people who are watching now might be saying, wait a minute, you spent all those years training to be an accountant, and then you end up being a designer. Explain that. It's a crazy life. It's a crazy life. And even as I was going through the whole process, I was going through a spiritual process. And so even when I discovered this is my passion, when I discovered my passion in fashion,
I could no longer sleep because I just wanted to look at fashion all night. Like, I need to stop, I need to stop. And I was being driven by that. So it came to a point where I was slowly losing it, this other side.
Yeah.
And this side was becoming very, very strong. And yet, I don't even know how to sew a straight line, you know? So when I went through this journey, I told God, Lord, okay, fine, I've discovered my passion, so let me work, and then I can do this as well. So, and when I talk about this, I talk about it as my journey, because everybody has their own journey.
Yeah.
So for me, God told me that you cannot do both. I need you to take a leap of faith. Fear and overcome the fear of the unknown. And he gave me a scenario of David and Goliath, and how as small as David was, he had to fight Goliath and all that. And he said, if you're holding on to both, it means you're not taking a step of faith. I expect you to jump in the deep end and trust that I will catch you. So that was my journey. So I had to let go and say, Lord, if I fail. Now, and at this point, I'm renting a house, you know. Yeah. I have a few savings, of course, that would last me maybe a year and a half. So there was that backup in place. But imagine I took that step of faith. Yeah.
A number of people play it safe.
Yeah.
Why are you a risk taker?
And you see, what gave me the platform, and I don't say this to boast. I say this in the confidence that I have in my God. Yeah, is that the moment you have to pay a price in life. If you don't pay the price, there's nothing you earn at the end of the day. When I paid the price and told God, I am going to do what you're telling me to do, and I expect you not to disappoint me. You know, when I entered the fashion world, like I've said, doors opened on their own. I went to fashion shows all over the world that I never applied for. I was asked to go. So doors opened in such a way that I was being led into what I was doing. And it was such a beautiful journey. Yeah, but I paid the price. Yeah. So you have to overcome the Goliath. You have to overcome the fear of the unknown. If you don't do it, continue playing safe.
Tell me,
yeah,
how do you connect, with God? And I said this, because, and I've told this to people, most of the time when I'm going through a difficult time, or even when I want to consult, I basically, it's like physically putting a chair next to me, and I say, God, can we discuss? Can I have a chat with you? My question is, how have you been connecting with God?
So, you see, the connection with God came through the journey that I went through in life, where you lose your parents, and you have to stay here and there, and then you get married, and you have to go through a very bitter divorce. So, I've been through a very, 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 very painful life. Yeah. So, in a life where now you become an orphan, and all you have is God.
Wow.
Yeah. So, I had no choice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had no choice. But what's funny is God introduced himself to me before I even knew church. Yeah, so he started preparing even before my dad died. Like, I used to pray, like when my dad was sick. Like, I'm praying. My father never taught me to pray. Yeah. But I used to pray, Lord, heal him. Give whatever he's sick from, let me have it. You know what I mean? But when I went through a lot of pain in my life, that's when I discovered God. And that's when I started talking to God. And that's when he started talking to me.
I don't be talking about the major thrust of this show today, Zambia, my responsibility. But since you've mentioned, divorce, I've gone through 2 divorces. The last one was very, very painful, and I could not even wish it on anybody. How did you recover?
Well, it was just time. Yeah, I think it took time, and it took God. Yeah, for me to recover. You see, it's not the pain of divorce. Even if you want to come out of a marriage, you go through the same pain. Yeah, so it takes time for you to recover. But even through the whole process of divorce, I had that spiritual journey with God, where He's giving me that instruction. Therefore, I had that confidence, and therefore I had some peace and some joy. But the pain, it's a process. Yeah.
I followed you, Jan, and I don't want to be biased. I know you're wonderful, person, a child of God. Were you angry that this had to happen to somebody who is good? was nice?
As in
you as a person?
Yes. Yes, of course I was angry because I'd like to live, I would have wanted to just live a normal life, but I've never lived a normal life. Like even now when I look back and I'm like, so I now understand why I've gone through the pain that I've gone through in life. It makes sense now because where I know I'm headed, it had to happen. The whole journey of pain and all that had to happen for me to reach a stage where I am now. Yes, and speak about it and be confident about it. Yeah. So though it was necessary, I would have loved to just live a normal life. Yeah, yeah.
Where do you place your children in all of this?
And you see, what's funny about it is, you see, my children have really been raised by God. You see, He has truly raised them. He has truly raised them in such a way that, as if they had both parents together. My ex-husband, the best dad on earth. Yeah. Best dad on earth. Yeah. So they have had the best of both worlds. So they've never. Of course, it was difficult in the beginning, but then because they have the best of both worlds, it was easier for them and the two of them. So they've always depended on each other. Yeah. Yeah. So I am grateful to God that though He allowed me to go through all that pain, He took care of my children. Yeah.
We'll be getting into Zambia, my responsibility, but I also want to connect your children to this. What have you been telling your children about them being Zambians? And I know one or two of them is out of the country, and you don't want your child to be disconnected to this Zambia. Yeah. What have you been telling your children?
So I tell them that you may go to school, but you have to have a responsibility. But I also respect the fact that God has a destiny for each one. So for me, I pray that their destiny may be fulfilled. Their destinies may not be here. Yeah. Because everybody has a journey. It's not every Zambian who has to be here. But they have to understand who they are as Zambians. My children are not on social media, and that's what's crazy about it.
Brilliant.
Yeah, they're not on social media.
Is that deliberate?
I think I've ruled with an iron fist. Yeah. For me, I am like a soldier when it comes to raising my children. Yeah. But they're good kids, Yeah. They're good kids. They don't want to be on social media themselves. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, but they understand what it means to be Zambian, and I want them to just fulfill their purpose. Yeah. So even though I do all these things that I do, and people know what I'm doing, my children sometimes are lost because they don't know what I'm doing. They usually don't know what I'm doing. Yeah, because they're not in that space. Yeah, they're very private. They're in the bedroom and all that, but half the time they don't know.
Again, I know I'm coming to the thrust of this. You've just made reference to social media. Is this a challenge to what you want to portray, to what you want to transmit to the Zambians so that they understand the objective of this organization? Is it a challenge, or is it at the same time an advantage?
It's both.
Right.
And it's both because, in fact, the other day I put a post because it's funny how you create a platform and you're telling Zambians, guys, you know what? We need to hold hands. Yeah. That time of this one and that one and these people pointing fingers at people, we have to forget about that. We cannot accept working in silos. We have to use each other's strengths to move this agenda forward. And I've given examples of even one time when there was an issue of an international organization buying a gold mine, and people are making noise because people don't understand that you can also apply for a mine. I've owned a large-scale mine before. I just applied. Yeah. And people don't understand that. Yeah. And they just talk, anyhow. So you see, I'm actually grieved that social media is playing. I think Zambia, it has affected them very negatively because you have a lot. I don't know if you're on social media, but you see a lot of people rising, and all they talk about are useless things. Yeah. And if you look at the following of those people who talk about useless things, you'd be amazed. Even the very elect, the very learned, you see them commenting on things like that. A person is sitting and they're just talking foolishly, and people are laughing and commenting and tagging everyone, and thousands and thousands of Zambians are following that. And then you've introduced a movement, and you're telling Zambians, let's do this. Moving forward, we have to move together. You have a few comments, even from the elect, even from the educated. So it's very worrying. It's very worrying. It's a tool for us to use to push an agenda, a development agenda, but it is, unfortunately, Zambia, it has brought out the worst in Zambians. Yeah.
I know keep on delaying to come to the responsibilities, but I'm trying to pluck out a few, challenges. You did mention when we started about these little pockets, here and there. One major pocket now, which I think is a big pocket, is tribalism. How did we get here? We were not here before. When you go back to Kaunda, we were one. Okay? Rwanda is one now. The tribal thing is not existing because it is a danger. Why are we here? And why don't we realize that tribalism is a huge danger?
Yes, in fact, just having tribes in itself is a disadvantage. Just like having too many political parties is a disadvantage. Okay? The developed countries, they have 2 political parties.
Right.
The US, all these countries, 2 political parties. But I don't know where the idea comes from of having too many political parties, because therein lies confusion. We have so many tribes. So you have to understand that there's confusion there. It's inevitable that confusion will come. And I had a talk with Rwandese, and I was asking, why is it that the times I've been to Rwanda, you're not allowed to talk about tribe? It's like you can be imprisoned if you talk about tribe. It's because of the dangers of division. You see, most of these slave masters, they work on dividing people. They thrive on dividing people. So you have to have a strong leadership that just says, if you do this, you'll be jailed. You just have to do it. You should never tolerate it. It should never come out of anybody's mouth, especially someone who is called a leader. Never, never, ever. Because that is when strife comes. Yes. So unfortunately, it's not that the legal system is not strong in terms of curbing tribalism. Otherwise, and Kaunda tried it, where he would rotate people. I mean, he did whatever he could to curb it, but it's become strong, and that's why we've created this platform, because we're saying, come out. Because there's no person in this country who doesn't have relatives from all tribes. Almost, at least 5 tribes,
Absolutely.
Chiso,
if we appreciate, or we know the repercussions, why are some quarters of the population, especially the politicians, embracing this?
It's the same issue of there has to be a strong leadership. It should not be tolerated. It's tolerated. And there are no consequences. There are people who do things and there are no consequences. The fact that there's no consequences, it means there will always be confusion. There has to be someone who has to put a stamp to it. It just has to happen. It's not negotiable.
All right. Finally, I've arrived to the question of the responsibilities of Zambia, my responsibilities. What are the responsibilities now? And the driving force of this important organization?
So it is a platform where we're trying to come together. We're trying to get people to get together and move whatever development agenda in whatever sphere. And we're trying to say, on this platform, we're facilitating and getting different people together. And I'll give you an example of some of the programs that we've rolled out. We've rolled out the Keeper in School campaign. Last week we launched the Keeper in School campaign. We launched the campaign. And in that campaign, we as My Zambia, My Responsibility said, it's not about me. My Zambia, My Responsibility is you. So with the Keeper in School campaign, we're saying that when a man is in need, we must do something about it. When a woman is in need, we must do something about it. When a child is in need, we must do something. We must gather. We must gather and do something about it, and we must gather together. So in this campaign, we brought in different organizations. Zanaco were one of our main sponsors.
Right.
Yes, we had Probase. We had organizations that believe that a girl child, it is unacceptable for a girl child to miss school because they're on a period.
Yeah.
We can't keep silent about that. We cannot accept that it can go on. And it does not have to take one organization to put money in a box. Even if we put 1 kwacha each.
Yeah.
Even if, in fact, the encouragement is, let's put 5 kwacha each.
Yeah.
Let's all put 5 kwacha. How many are we? And make sure that the girl goes to school. That is the agenda that we're trying to push forward. Yeah.
This is a very important project you've undertaken. First, why the girl child? I know you've made reference partially to that. And in saying so, shouldn't the parents be playing a role in this? Shouldn't teachers be playing a role in this? I am not so sure whether during your time you faced this problem. Why now?
You see, it's not a them and us situation.
Yeah.
It's all of us
Right.
playing a role. It's teachers, together with parents, together with just the whole population.
Yeah.
A packet of pants is 24 kwacha.
Yeah.
Now, I can imagine, I've had interviews with women who are selling on the street. They go home with 30 kwacha profit at the end of the day. So where would they get the money?
Yeah.
That is a parent. That is a parent who's going home, even if it's 100 kwacha profit.
Yeah.
You see, so what can a parent do to help if they have 3 girls in a home? What can they do? There's nothing they can do, And teachers, what can the teachers do? So what we're doing is let the teachers teach, and let the teachers teach them how to on menstrual hygiene. But those who have the money, let's help with that. Yeah.
In your interactions, what has been the impact on the girl child in terms of the menstrual issues, that you have made reference to?
Yeah.
What has been the impact on these young girls?
Yeah, like in the rural areas, it's not, the problem is actually not just the pant, it's also underwear. There are a lot of girls in the rural areas that don't have underwear. So what that entails then is that when they're on a period, they have to stay home the whole time that they're on a period. That is like 7 days out of the whole month. Now imagine a girl who's in an examination class who has to stay home. And there was a study done in Western Province where they're actually using cow dung. Yeah, they use cow dung. Yes, cow dung. It's dried, and they put it in a cloth, and that's what they use because it's absorbing.
56 years after independence.
Yes. And there are even some that have built little huts and they put a hole and a girl has to sit there. So it's a lot of it's horror story. And you see, it was a taboo to talk about this before, but we have to talk about it. We can't be using cow dung. We can't be allowing a girl to be sitting in a hole. You know what I mean? And they miss school. Yeah.
This is a very emotional, issue. Where do you get the energy from? Because it can easily break somebody. Is it because you're a parent? Is it because you're God-fearing? That's where you're drawing, the emotional energy from?
You see, and I always have to go spiritual because that's what it is. You see, I'm driven. I have a drive. I have a drive in me that God gives me.
Yeah.
So I am given direction in whatever it is that I have to do, and I have the strength. Yeah, I don't know where I get the strength from God, but I have it. Yeah. So, but you see, for me, every time I even see people throwing around money and playing around with money, I look at the money and I'm thinking that would do this and that and this and that. So you see, there's something that we're all called to do in life, and there's something that drives each one of us differently. You see, so for me, what drives me is that I would like to help the poorest. I would like to reach the and for me, I don't understand how we can be, there can be people who are actually living in serious poverty when we have the capacity to change things. That, for me, that's where the confusion is. That's where the confusion is. Because even, I mean, even if I give an example of clothing, there are people who are who don't have clothes, but you probably have 2 wardrobes of clothes. But what about sharing? How can we share whatever it is that we have? And we can do it. Why can't we do that?
Are we coming to the issue of poverty because it's a contributing factor? One of the major contributing factors, to some of the issues you have alluded to. Let's talk about early pregnancies. Again, another major, problem. Who is responsible for this? Is it the parents? Is it the sugar, daddies? And if we can identify who is responsible, then who is also responsible for correcting this, for addressing this?
It's also the community as a whole. I mean, growing up, my parents were not the only ones who were responsible for me. It was also, it's a culture issue. It's really a culture issue. Because even what we're talking about menstrual hygiene, it also leads to early pregnancies. Because a lot of girls have dropped out of school. That's one of the side effects of menstrual hygiene, or they are calling it now menstrual poverty or something like that. Yes. Yeah, so a lot of girls have been dropping out of school and going into marriages. Yes, because you lag behind and you're failing to catch up. So you're the first person who can easily just be sold out to an early marriage. And there are statistics already that are there to show that a lot of girls have eventually dropped out of school and gone into marriages. So it is a lot of factors that are associated with early marriages. Yeah.
Who should be correcting that then?
All of us. Yeah.
Are we doing enough? Or the economy is virtually, so difficult. Poverty is so difficult.
Unfortunately.
To deal, with that.
Yes. Yes. So most of it is the poverty aspect. It's a lot of things that come into play when it comes to early marriages, but mostly it's poverty. Yeah. I mean, if all you want is to just get a cow from a girl, because a girl, there's no benefit for her. She's at home. What is she doing? So you might as well get a cow and have an asset as a family. So it's mostly poverty. Yeah.
Let me flip that. There are a number of people, females, let me talk about the ladies, who may have a good job, and some of them have got very good jobs. Now there's something unfortunate which is developing, the dependency syndrome. A woman will pick up a phone, she can't afford, she tells the man, buy me a vehicle, buy me a house. I mean, there are now even cases of really just blackmailing, a man. What is this new culture that has developed?
In fact, I'll give you the flip side. Because the culture that's developed more than that culture, because I think that culture has sort of always been there. But there's a culture that has developed, Uncle Frank, where the man is being kept by a woman. Yes. So, and that there's a lot of that is going on, where a woman looks after the man. But the man, because the ego of a man is real, there are always issues in a marriage when issues like that come up. So it's an issue of, it's a cultural issue. It's become acceptable. I think it's always been there. I know there are cases that I know in families where there's so many scandals, but then they were hidden. But now there's nothing that is hidden. People are coming out and just being naked all over. I mean, on social media, people are naked freely. So it is, the culture has slowly changed. Yeah.
You made reference to poverty. The economy is going through a difficult time. There's sometimes over-dependency on the government, but the government must solve everything. In Zambia, my responsibility, where do you place you and me in playing a role to deal with some of these governance issues, poverty, economy? What should be my role as an individual, as a Zambian?
So, I talked about one of the projects that we did, where menstrual hygiene, where we're trying to provide sanitary pads. And we're trying to provide sanitary pads by asking you, Uncle Frank, to, when you get paid, buy a packet of pads. Okay, that is a role you play. And there's another program that we've rolled out. We rolled it out 3 weeks ago, where we're training 100 youth. 100 youth in every province, because we're trying to change the mindset. Because the mindset is where we really have the problem. So we're trying to train the youth in civic engagement, in leadership, in entrepreneurship, so that a youth is able to write a basic business proposal, for instance. So I could sit down and say, you know what, the government is responsible. They have NYDC, National Youth Development Corporation. They'll do it. They get paid for it. You know what I mean? But I believe I'm the government. I believe I'm part of the government. I'm not saying that the government shouldn't do what they're doing, but what can I do? Yes. And what I can do, and what I have the ability to do, is to say, wait a minute, NYDC, let's work together. USAID Youth Lead, let's work together. Zanaco, let's work together. Zanaco, are you able to buy lunch for these kids when they come? Are you able to transport them? USAID Youth Lead, can we use your hall? And NYDC, can we use your trainers? That's how we did this training. That's how we're doing this training. So it is will. You have to have the will to be able to change. I am not, and I'll give you an example of the president. The president is not more responsible for this country than I am. I have a role to play. He has a role to play and he's accountable to that. But I also have a responsibility. Within my means, I have the responsibility to do whatever it is that I have to do. I believe I am the government.
Empowering people, especially women, especially now when women are worse affected by the pressures from COVID. How are you, going around that?
You see, COVID is totally, it's a crisis for all of us. It's a crisis. I mean, even my business is affected. So, and what I've been telling people when they're asking, so how are you managing? So you have to remain relevant in any sphere. I mean, even news houses and all these are affected. I mean, you run out of business. So you have to remain relevant, and you have to continue reinventing yourself. I mean, there are some of my designers who are now into farming because people have to eat. So you have to have survival mode. You have to rethink what you've been doing. You can't just be doing the same thing, and there's a crisis. There are no events, and you continue making clothes. The events have been stopped. You can't just continue doing that. You have to start growing tomatoes or something. So I've been telling people, you have to reinvent yourself to be able to survive, so that you're able to fit in. It's a crisis that everybody is going through. So it's survival of the fittest.
Absolutely. As a writer to that, there's so much inequality, when it comes, to men and women. Women are discriminated. At work, they can't find a lot of jobs, and in some employment facilities that pay less. What should be done to address, this? I know, the numbers of women who are now progressing are going up. What should be done?
In fact, you've actually hit the nail on the head when you say the number of women progressing, because the narrative has actually changed. And unfortunately, because the narrative has changed, there's so many women events, so many women conferences, to the point where a woman has become very powerful. More powerful to the point where a man is sort of lagging behind. And that in itself as well is a crisis. So women are heading organizations. Yes, it's rare to find a woman on the same level as a man who's getting less. It was like that before, but not anymore. So we are rising to the point where we're taking over. Unfortunately, for me, it shouldn't be like that. It shouldn't be like that. It shouldn't be in such a way that you empower gender and we leave the other gender.
Right.
Yes. Yes. So yes, it happened to us as women. We were discriminated against, but we can't start also discriminating because then we're not resolving the issue. So we need to rise together. This is a time we as women are powerful enough. We're mothers. We need to say, okay, it happened to us, but we're going to carry you along.
Right.
So we need to carry the men along because they're really, really, their egos are really being dented.
Are you getting support from, enough support from women, to encourage your organization? That I think we're going places now because, there are a lot of other people, especially men, who are coming on board.
Yes, in fact, most of the support is from women. Yeah. Most of the support is from women. A lot of men like businesses that are already thriving, or that's what I've noticed. With even with what we're doing. I mean, we have a number of men who will wait for things to happen for them to jump on. While the women are really, us women, are holding each other's hands and pushing and pushing and pushing. So it's 3/4 of women that are really pushing this agenda. Yeah.
All these programs need, money, and empowerment needs, money. Money is expensive in this country, especially, for women. Are there facilities, that, you're going through, that are complementing your efforts to ensure that women are empowered?
Actually, as much as money is a problem and is needed, and as much as there is even COVID, there is a lot of money that needs to be spent. A lot of organizations, a lot of NGOs have a lot of money that has gone unspent. So they're looking for people who are able to be innovative enough to have impact. When you have impactful activities that don't threaten people in terms of COVID, they are ready to jump on board. So it's a question of how you have your thought process, yes, and how you want to implement an activity. And there's so many people who are jumping on board. I mean, there are a lot of people who want to work with us. We are a non-political organization.
Right.
So there's politicians who want to work, but we can't work with politicians because it's a non-political organization. Because politicians come and go. This is bigger than politics. This is a national movement. Yes.
Let's talk about, women. We'll be having elections in August. There are a lot of women who are coming up now, aspiring to be members of parliament. Are you encouraged by this? And in saying so, are there some challenges that you feel women are facing, that should be tackled to ensure that the ground is even between men and women?
What I've noticed, and I was guilty when I felt like inside I was judging a few women who, as far as I'm concerned, don't have a good reputation. So I'm thinking, what kind of leadership is this person going to bring? What kind of a leader, what kind of a person is this who's going to be making decisions on behalf of people? Yeah, so that's a very serious responsibility. Is this person capable with all the things that I know that they have done? Okay. So, and I was actually guilty that I put most of the judgment on the woman. And yet there are so many scandalous men who I never thought, I never really judged like that. I never really judged like that. So I had to sit back and say, wait a minute, what about that man? What about that man? I've never thought of them like that. I just thought they are capable. But why would I think that the woman is incapable? Am I weighing them on the same scale? No, I wasn't. I wasn't. And the fact that I thought like that, and I've also noticed that other women think like that about the fellow women. A lot of men think like that about the woman. So definitely, they are not on the same scale. Definitely not. Definitely not. A woman is seen different from a man. Yeah.
Do I have to be responsible? Do I have to be a person of values before I can understand what it entails, what Zambia, my responsibility entails?
Do you have to be?
Do I have to be responsible? Do I have a man, woman of certain values, family values, for example, before I can appreciate what it means, what Zambia my responsibility entails.
No, you don't have to. In fact, the moment actually everybody, every Zambian has a place, has a role to play. Every single Zambian has a role to play. And even when someone asks me, no, how do I become part of my Zambia, my responsibility? And I gave them an example of a young girl.
Yeah.
She's in secondary school. I mean, she's a little girl, privileged family. And she sent a message and said, I have asked my friends to contribute. She went around the school, an international school, and asked her friends to contribute.
Wow.
So you see, she's taken a step. She's a student. She's a little girl. She's in maybe grade 8. Yes, but she's decided to take the responsibility. Does she have right standing? Not. There's nothing much you can say about a girl who's in grade 8. But you see, she's taken the responsibility because she feels that she can raise enough money and buy pads for a school in her community on the Copper Belt. She's from the Copper Belt.
What other programs, is the organization, involved in?
Yeah, so we have, in fact, we're working in 2 themes. So it's people, money, and innovation. Yeah. So we are actually starting on every holiday. We're starting an innovation program where when schools close, yes, we're going to have a few cultural talks and robotics and innovation trainings, like teachings, not too formal because they're out of school. Yeah. So we don't want to really bombard them with formal stuff. It's informal. It's a cultural talk. Just for them to understand who they are as Zambians. Yeah, like one of the talks, the mentorship program, we had Ms. Mlenga Kapweko who came and spoke to them about what it means to be a Zambian, and she just used a simple method where she made them go through the national anthem. What does it mean? You just sing it. Do you even understand what it means? So she went through it step by step. We had in one of the trainings also Dr. Aaron Mjajati, who talked to them about sexual education. You see, and in the mentorship training, and you'll be shocked at the crazy stuff that the young. Yeah, because you see they watch things that they're not supposed to watch, but they don't understand the science behind. So they need to be spoken to. I was like shocked that they actually really need to be spoken to. So it's things like that where there's a gap. Yes.
Who is your target group? I know you mentioned the girl child. Now you're talking about the youths. Who else are your target groups?
So we're working with women. So in terms of women, there's a program called Kobili. So there's someone who has a fund. So we're working with the Marketeers. So with the Marketeers, we're lending them money. So, and why are we lending them money? So we're putting them in groups. Because in My Zambia, My Responsibility, we've said, let's work together. So we put women in 5 groups of 5. And because a woman, a marketeer, a normal marketeer, will get up at 5 o'clock and go home at 21 hours, at which point do they raise their children? So when we put them in groups of 5, they have at least the chance to be with their families and to be able to run their organizations together and grow their funds. We open up accounts for them, we insure them, we help them with insurance, and we just give them capacity so that they grow from one stage to another. So they have relationship managers. So that is the women. We're helping the women. Yeah. So when it comes to the youth, it's both boys and girls. Yeah. So we don't have any program where we're saying this is for women, this is for girls, this is for boys. So they're all bundled together. Yeah.
You mentioned marketeers. Some of them are married. Are their husbands in the loop?
Not yet. Not yet.
Isn't that important?
It is important, and you see, with us, we're not imposing anything on anybody. For instance, even with the Kobili project that we're doing, it is someone who said, you know what, I've seen that there's a gap with the women. Okay, so then we're like, okay, fine, because we as a team, we facilitate. So what are we saying? We said, okay, we'll bring Zanaco, they open accounts, we bring Africa Directions, then Mtendere, because our pilot project is Mtendere. Africa Directions and Mtendere. So we only facilitate. So someone came with the idea. Because we're not here to say, this is what we're going to do, this is what we're going to do. No. So imagine you with what you said, what about the men? And if you've already had an idea of the men and you've thought through it, we'll say, okay, bring the idea. We'll bring in the parties that will be able to help with your project.
Yeah.
So that's what we do.
Brilliant. We'll be taking a break, very shortly to see if we can get some callers in. But before we do that, one important question. You've just mentioned, the team. Who are these team members, you're working with? What qualities do these, team members have?
Yes. So I am the chairperson and the founder of My Zambia, My Responsibility. We have an executive director, Cholalungu Mutoni, Cholalungu Kazunga, sorry, and she's the executive director for My Zambia, My Responsibility. She has had a lot of experience, yes, with working with girls, working with the youth, and yeah. And then we have the executive secretary, who is Mark Chilongo. He is the actually executive director for Africa Directions. Africa Directions have been impact about 35,000 youth every year. Yes, so they are big in mentorship and training. So we are also in partnership with Africa Directions, but he wanted to be part of My Zambia, My Responsibility. So he's our executive secretary. So he has so much experience. Yes. Yeah.
Accountability of this organization. Again, we're ensuring that accountability is available.
Yes. Yeah. So we have a business development specialist. Yes. Who runs the programs. Yeah. We also have a legal specialist.
Fantastic.
Yes, we have a legal specialist. Yeah. And we have a finance person.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Does it help, that you're an accountant, and does that help to run this organization?
Yes, it helps a lot, because I am very cautious about money and about numbers. So it helps a lot. But you see, My Zambia, My Responsibility does not run projects in terms of the business side. We have removed ourselves from there.
Right.
Our core business is to ensure that is to focus on the M&E. We want to know how many girls are we going to affect.
Right.
As we work with partners, because even with the Keeper in School campaign, there are a lot of partners that we're going to work with. Once we gather the pads and the underwear, because we're saying there are experts who are already out there in the market.
Right.
So why we are not in this business? There are those that are in that business. So we're going to give it to them. They've already done baseline studies. So we give them, and we just want to know the numbers. What are the numbers? Okay, so it's really about the M&E. How many women are going to be affected in Zambia? How many youth are going to be trained? Yes.
Some organizations start well and they fall apart on the wayside. If you put any strategies in place to ensure that there's sustenance, with this very important organization.
Yes, definitely. We have a good strategy, and that we have put in place. That we're running with, and you see, because we officially launched in December.
Yeah.
So it actually has been evolving. Yeah. So we started a certain way, and we keep evolving. So we haven't yet reached a place where we're like, okay, this is it. Yeah. But we have a strategy in place that has been evolving. Yeah.
Have you moved out of Lusaka now? To extend your tentacles to other areas apart from Lusaka?
When it comes to the Keeper in School, there are people who are out there in Livingstone who've actually called on the Copper Belt, who are actually now even donating sanitary pads.
Brilliant.
When it comes to the youth and mentorship training, we started the pilot in Lusaka, because what we're doing is we're training trainers. The Lusaka chapter is training trainers. So the trainers from the USAID youth lead are training our youth, and then these are the youth we're going to go around with to the other provinces.
You must be very excited about this, that you're making a difference.
Yeah, totally. It's crazy like that. Like I talked to Chola, and I said to Chola, maybe we're mad. Why do we have to have these headaches? Like, we call it, even at 02, she's like, Toma, have we done this? Have we done that? Yeah. I'm like, this thing, like we are overcome by it.
Right. Yeah. Right. Where are you getting this drive from?
You see, I don't like to be too spiritual. Some people say,
you go back to the spiritual side.
Yes. Yeah. It's an instruction. Yeah.
Brilliant. I'm talking to CHISOMA LOMBE, who is the chairperson and founder of Zambia, My Responsibility. We will go on a short 5 minutes break, And if you've got any questions, to ask after the 5 minutes, then you can, start calling us. I'm sure you know our number by now, and send us also the messages, because this is exciting. What should you be doing to ensure that Zambia My Responsibility is part of you? Join us very shortly with my guest after 5 minutes.
2021 has been described as a highly politically charged year. This is because every 5 years the country goes to the polls, and that 5 years elapses with only a few months remaining down to the ballot. The battlefield to appear on the ballot is becoming fertile. A lot of people are expressing interest of appearing on the ballot.
In all this, our interest is to put the duty bearers, the leaders, and those aspiring to task by asking the relevant questions.
If you're an aspiring candidate, be it councillor, mayor, or member of parliament, get in touch with us to get yourself on the verdict.
We go beyond speculation in dealing with policy and governance issues. The right questions are asked to help you make a verdict.
For more details, you can call us on 0962 965883, 0979 753010, or email us info@camnettvafrica.com. Terms and conditions apply.
Join us on Camnet TV
every Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday at 17:45 hours
on a new program dubbed The Verdict.
Remember that Camnet TV is not just another channel.
And bananas. Work and wait, and this what you've been praying for. Oh, we testify, we celebrate.
Hello, I'm Deborah Lukalu, all the way from South Africa. You are watching Camnet channel, not just another channel. God bless you. Stay
We
tuned.
testify, we celebrate. For all you've done, Lord, we give you all the praise. Oh, we testify, we celebrate. Oh, for all you've done, Lord, we give you all the praise.
Welcome back. This is Frank on Camnet. My guest on the program is CHISOMA LOMBE, who is a chairperson and founder of Zambia My Responsibility. If you want to find out more about this organization and indeed about my guest, please you can call us now, or you can send us some messages. Do we have any messages already on? Any messages that have come through? Not as yet. Please send us some messages if you'd like to participate and know more about this organization. Tell us about sensitization. The importance of sensitization cannot be overemphasized. How much sensitization have you done?
Because sensitization is basically mind change, mindset change. And the way we started with this movement is we started with a program on Diamond TV that I was co-hosting with Costa.
Right.
It was called My Zambia, My Responsibility.
Right.
Yes. So the purpose of that is the sensitization part. Because we're telling the Zambian, take your responsibility, wherever it is that you are. And a lot of people say, no, but how do I take my responsibility? I don't have capital. So there's so many excuses that have been going on. So on the program, we then bring people who started from nothing. And they've headed banks, they've done so many things, they run big organizations, but they just decided to start. So we were trying to give a scenario that you don't have to wait for a certain amount of money to start. And I'll give you one of the examples of a young girl who she's an economist at UNZA, but her passion was cooking, So she came on the program. The way she started is she started catering for free.
Right.
Yeah, she started catering for free until she was noticed, and she's done state functions. Yes. So she came on to tell people that I started doing it for free because I loved to do it. That's why even as I talk about starting something, I always encourage people to follow what they are passionate about. Because when you're passionate about something, you will never be encouraged. Nobody can encourage you. I don't believe in encouraging people. You need to be self-encouraged. And once you follow that passion, you have your own drive.
Absolutely, and I understand we've got somebody on the line. Good evening. Your name, please? Sorry, what is your name again? The line is not very good. Go ahead and ask a question.
Yes,
yes, sir, go ahead. I think we've lost the caller. Could you try again? This is Frank on Camnet. Where my guest is CHISOMA LOMBE, chairperson of Zambia My Responsibility. If you'd like to call us now, please do. Do we have any messages, Director? Do we have any messages? Okay. Good evening. Good topic. On girls' parts, in the past it was a taboo to mention in public. In the past, the economy was not so bad. Hence, parents used to afford to buy sanitary napkins. Those in the village used to use pieces of chitenge. Hence, menstrual towels was not an issue. Father Kelly, in his books on education in Zambia, mentioned it on factors affecting girls' education. So, Madame Lombe is filling up, that challenge. Well done. Would you like to add anything to that?
Yes, I think what I'd like to say is that through the movement, all of us have to feel that challenge. That is the real emphasis of what we are all about. Is that we all need to fill that gap.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
The take her back to school. Are you targeting certain schools because you can't cover the whole country?
No, we can't cover the whole country, but we're covering a number of, at least in every province. Just to be fair.
Brilliant.
Yes, and it's in the rural areas. Yes, in the rural areas, and it's government schools, of course.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Any more messages are coming through? Good evening. What services do you offer? And if someone intends to join, what are the qualifications? Charles Sinyangwe from Garden House. Go ahead.
So, Mr. Charles Sinyangwe, welcome to My Zambia, My Responsibility. You've joined hereby, yes. So you see, My Zambia, My Responsibility is in the small things and the big things. And the small things just entail that you help your community, for instance. The small things entail that you unblock a drainage, for instance. So you can actually organize your community. You see, there was a time I actually would watch the news and I would see people, when the time there was a lot of rain, and you would see a lot of flooding that is happening in certain areas in Lusaka. So, but do you realize, Mr. Sinyangwe, that if you got young men to actually create furrows, they're called, what are they called? Furrows, right? Furrows, and you dig up so that you don't have the problem the next year. That is what My Zambia, My Responsibility is all about. We're not in a big office where we're saying, come and join us and sit on a desk. No, we are with the people. We've been working in Mutendere. The other day we were in Mutendere, and what we were doing in Mutendere is we had trained the youth. And when we trained the youth, we put them in groups of 8. And then we told them, go back to Mutendere and identify the problems and write a proposal and put a budget. And they did that. Brilliantly done, yes. And we told them the change that Mutendere needs is not going to come from Kalingalinga or Kabulonga, their neighbors. It's going to come from Mutendere. It's going to come from the people from Mutendere. If there's a flood, who is going to come and dig it up for you? No, it's not going to happen. We have to move from that mindset where we're like, no, these people, who is going to suffer at the end of the day? You know?
We the people should be doing that.
We are the ones who need to be doing that, and we have the capacity to do that.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Any more messages? Good evening, Ambassador and Mam Lombe. Well done and well spoken. Where are your offices? I work with girls. Rebecca Ngosa in Rose Park. Oh, this is brilliant.
Oh, great. Okay. Miss Rebecca Ngosa, actually our offices are in Rhodes Park. Tito Road, 3 Tito Road, next to St. Ignatius, next to Kalemba Hall of St. Ignatius Church. So I don't know if they're going to put the details of our phone number. But you can also follow us on our Facebook page, My Zambia, My Responsibility. There's actually a number there. So please do keep in touch, do get in touch, and we'll see how we can work together, because that's what we want.
Isn't it lovely? You know, the family is growing. Any more messages? And those of you who want to call us, I think we're having maybe a technical problem. Do we have any more callers? This is exciting. Where do you want to take this organization in there?
So it is really a concept of Ubuntu, and we're trying to change the culture of our people, and to change a culture, we have to continue talking about it. It is really about change of mindset and change of culture, because we have changed the way we have been thinking as people, and we want it to continue way beyond our time.
Do we have somebody on the line? Understand we've got somebody on the line. Good evening. Good evening. Please speak up.
Good evening, and Madam Lombe.
Thank you very much. Your name, sir?
My name is Lombe.
Yes, please, and go ahead, sir.
Okay, I'm just tuned in, and the topic of discussion is very interesting. I just have a question to Madam Lombe. Are you a prophet? Okay, what I'm trying to say is, do you make a profit in what you do? And number two, how much support do you get, especially from the local community, before we talk about government at large?
Thank you very much, sir. Are you a profit-making organization?
No, we're actually a non-profit-making organization. But we are an organization that is working with other organizations. Yes. So we are basically a facilitator. We are basically saying, okay, we identify that this bank has money. Okay, I mean, banks are money people.
Right.
Yes. We identify this organization as an organization that can give skills training to our youth. We recognize this organization as an organization that already works with youth.
Yeah.
Yes. So then we bring everybody together. All we're doing is facilitating. Yes, we're facilitating and we're making it happen.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Any more messages and calls, and please call us now. If you'd like to ask my guest any issues pertaining to Zambia, my responsibility, and of course this our country. If you want to say anything related to what we are discussing. Any more messages? I did allude to the fact that the country goes to the polls in August. I know you're non-political in CHISO, but you obviously relate to governance issues. What issues would you love these politicians, especially the women politicians, to address? Challenges facing the girl child, challenges facing women, to really make a positive impact on women and eventually on the country.
Yeah, so for me, you see, I'm a founder of my Zambia, my responsibility, but I'm also the vice chairperson on the board of ZDA. Right. So the governance of the whole country is actually at the core. Right. And that's why we're trying to run an organization that is also helping in the agenda, the development agenda of the country. And you see, the national agenda of the country for me is very important, and it is important in every sphere. So I'm the type of person who, when I join an organization, I want to know what is the plan that is in place, which in our case is the 7th National Development Plan. So how are we doing with the 7th National Development Plan? Okay? So there are certain areas where we're not doing well. And for me, I'm probably a slave driver, I think. I like to see. I don't like to talk. I don't like people who talk too much. Yeah. And there are people who go to work at 6 o'clock in the morning and leave at 21 hours. So for me, I want to know, what have you achieved in all that time that you've been at the office? You may have been talking all day long, okay? But what have you achieved out of it? So what I am appealing to those who are going to the polls is, you need to be passionate about what you're doing to be able to produce results. Yeah. And we want a leadership that will hold people accountable to what they do. We cannot afford to have people who are working in offices and that are not producing results. Right. And we are okay with it. Yeah. It's not okay. It's not okay. So for me, I am appealing to those who are going to the polls to be action-oriented people. Action-oriented people. We need to see change in our people. For me, that is my appeal. You don't just, you're not just going to go and because you're going to drive a big car, because you're going to have a certain status in society, and yet there's nothing that you're producing. Yeah.
And what should be our role as electorate? How do we ensure that these people drive our agenda?
Yeah. And for me, I have been telling people, there are so many people who are coming up to say, no, I'm standing as this, I'm standing as that. So the first question for me is, what have you achieved? Right. What have you achieved? What is it that you've done out of passion, out of a drive that is within you, that should make me vote for you? What are you known for? What have you achieved that should make me comfortable that you're going to speak on behalf of Banampundo in the market? Right. If there's nothing that you've done and you say you're going to do it today, now, it's a joke. Yeah. It's a joke. So the electorate need to choose people based on not based on soap that they've been given. Yeah. Why a Zambian, you see, and that is what we're talking about in my Zambia, my responsibility. Right. As Zambians, we need to have self-respect. Yeah. We need to have self-respect. You should never allow yourself to be bought with with a bar of soap. No. 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 You need to choose people who you know are going to make decisions on your behalf. Yes. And who are going to make sure that they change your communities. Absolutely. Yeah.
You do 101 things. How do you balance your life? How do you balance all these programs so that one of these programs does not suffer?
You see, I look like I am all over the place, right? Yeah. But I actually have a lot of time in my hands. But you see, even when I'm at home and I'm sitting and I'm supposed to be resting, I'm already having an idea that is brewing.
Yeah.
Even as we were launching on Wednesday last week,
Yeah.
the Keeper in School campaign, it's like there's now a drive for the next move. Like there's this drive. So you see the satisfaction is in seeing that work is done. Yeah.
Really?
I can imagine myself on an island and I've gone on a holiday. I know that I'll still be thinking about the next move. Yeah.
Do you have any role models?
Of course I do. I mean, it's crazy if I didn't have any role models. I have a number of role models in different spheres, depending on what sphere. So in terms of fashion, I do have role models. In terms of entrepreneurship, I do have role models.
Great,
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
Do we have any messages before we close? Any messages? Some people think education or protocols, can overcome challenges we face, but passion continue. I think, basically, Chalikosa from Zambia, actually, I think embracing what you've said about, passion. Could you still be passionate even when you're having challenges?
You see, and you see, like I had said, your passion actually is where your challenges are.
Right.
It's what grows you. When you're being driven by passion, your greatest challenges are in your passion. And the reason your greatest challenges are in your passion is that you're not going to let go, because your passion is the one that drives you.
Right.
It drives you. So no matter what challenges are there, you're going to overcome. You're going to have to overcome, and it makes you grow to the point where now. So like for me, you see, I went through so much when I was pursuing my passion. I'm enjoying this journey, but I'm also going through a lot of challenges. I could have stopped and gone back to work, but the passion was overpowering until I reached a stage where I had grown up enough to be trusted to have purpose and to be able to drive people. Yes. So those challenges are the ones that led me now to be able to now hold people's hands and say, okay, this is how you do it. Yeah.
As a rider, to that, fear and failure are some of the two major challenges. For those who want to go and reach out to something which they want to achieve, and they're hindered by fear and failure. What message do you have?
Yeah. So unfortunately, you see, in life you have to take risks.
Yeah.
So you have to take the risk. If you don't take the risk, you're in the comfort zone. And there's always mediocrity in the comfort zone. Always. Always. So you have to choose whether to take the road and take the risk, even if you're going to fail. And in the achievement and the attainment, that is where the promotion is. But if you become comfortable, there's nothing that you're going to attain.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
All right. One final question before the final question. What message do you have? Let me give you time to market the organization again, maybe for those who missed our beginning, just what message do you have for them?
Yeah, so the message that I have as the founder of My Zambia, My Responsibility is an appeal even to organizations. A lot of organizations have the capacity to be able to help people, but they also are not able to do it on their own.
Right.
So my appeal is to ask organizations to be able to work together. We need to have a network that is integrated for us to attain any results. And that's how most of these developed countries are, is that they have a whole system that is interconnected.
Right.
Yes. A whole system that is interconnected to a point where what they want to attain is the result. So what we have are people who are just throwing punches, because this one wants to throw punches in this direction, this one wants to throw punches in this direction. But if they come together, and an example I'm going to give you is the same example of mines, where a lot of these international organizations, they come to Zambia, they get mines. It's not like there's one person who has the money to buy the mines. No.
Yeah.
That mine is owned by ordinary people in their country. Teachers buy shares. Bus drivers buy shares. And they put monies together and they come to Zambia to buy the mine. Why can't we do the same? So that is my appeal, and that is that is the basis of all this talk. Is a lot of even in farming and agriculture, you have all these international organizations that have come, But because they are able to work together, even as they come to Zambia, they're the ones who are telling us what prices we need to sell our commodities are. That is an error. It's because a little farmer is in the corner and another one is in the corner. They don't want to work together. So you will always be dictated to.
Right.
Yeah.
So again, where do they find you?
So we are on at 3 Tito Road, Rhodes Park.
Yeah.
That's where we're found. But you can follow us on Twitter, My Zambia, My Responsibility, and we are also on Instagram, and we are also on Facebook. So please follow us there.
Great job. Finally, I keep on asking, this, question, because you're very spiritual. I mean, when we leave this studio and we meet Jesus outside, and what issues would you love to raise with him?
I think I've said this before. I'd like to just act in his position just for 1 month.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what will you deliver in that 1 month? I just need to put people where they're supposed to be. Yeah.
Yeah. Because at the end of the day, I think people are a bit slow.
Yeah.
Some people just need to be moved around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well done. I'll ask my Jesus to do that for you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for appearing on my show. You're doing a great job.
Thank you.
We can only wish you God's blessings.
Thank you very much.
And all the success, the team, and you deserve.
Thank you very much.
Good. Yeah. That was CHISOMA LOMBE, who is the co-founder of Zambia, My Responsibility. Thank you for watching. I'm hoping to feature, Bishop Mwamba, next week, who is the new president of one of the longest, if not the longest surviving, political party in this country that brought us independence, and that is, UNIT. To my crew, tonight, at Camnet, and of course, Pastor Chiluba and Mrs. Chiluba, thank you very much for watching. I'm Frank Motovila. Good night to you all, and God bless you.